5 tips which you can use to understand and answer project budgeting and profitability related interview questions. And these tips you can add on top of your PMP understanding. You might have prepared for PMP certification using project cost management was a topic. You understood that particular budget baseline, management reserve, contingency reserve, all those terminologies are clear to you. But there are things, especially when you work in a service-based organization where you work for others, you need to keep in mind in order to answer day-to-day budgeting related questions. So I'm adding on top of it. I assume you already have that understanding. Now let's talk about these 5 tips. So first focus, we need to estimate budget at a various level based on a standard resource rate or individual rate. So say sometime when you are new into project management, you think, oh, we have 5 developers, we have some rented things, etc., and I probably need to find out their salaries and their expenses, and based on that, I will estimate the budget. That's not going to happen. Your PMO office most likely will maintain some kind of rate list for various resources which are allocated to you. Usually they maintain at a type of resources level, maybe a senior developer, engineer, etc. And that list has a number, which number will be definitely more or less double than the salary of an individual. It will be a high number, not equivalent to a salary. Usually they maintain a number at a weekly level or a monthly level that per month rate of this individual or this type of thing will be this much. So when you do estimation of your budget for your project, you use that particular number. That number takes the overall cost of the resource individuals, because there are other expenses also rather than salary. There is a other kind of insurance and other stuff. And it also takes good amount of overhead allocation. Maybe the organization is not charging money for the space these individual takes in the office, their parking, their electricity. There are a lot of other stuff. And you also have a billable individuals in your organization, your CEO, your management, their salary also has to come from somewhere. So there are various overheads, their management, quality, process, infrastructure. So they use some periodic update. These kind of things done by your PMO or quality group, some group will be there who might be publishing these standard rates for your estimation purpose on a 6 months or annual level. And whenever you do cost or a budgeting for your project, you need to refer to that particular rate. So if I'm going for an interview, I need to discover a little bit about what are the rates in our company. Probably the interviewer will ask, okay, how much is the rate for this particular individual? Or maybe you can say it's confidential, but again, it's little look odd. You may not want to share the exact number because of organizational confidentiality, but you can share a range. You can say we can't share the exact number, but it's in the range of this much. They may ask a second level question, how it has fluctuated over a period of time. So you should be able to tell, it was this, and maybe over a period of time, we have been changing it every year, 10%, 20%. So that kind of story gives you an idea that yes, you are involved in those kind of activity. So first point. The second point, when we talk about our PMP cost estimation, we think of identifying work breakdown structure, identifying activities, and then we put the resources there, estimation there, and then we roll up to a WBS level and a higher level. So there's a one way of doing or thinking about estimate. But there's another view also, which is based on allocation. So majorly, these two have to converge, but your budgeting might be done most of the time based on allocation. So you can say, oh, in your project, 10 engineers are allocated. Now you are using those engineers in the first month or not using it. Yeah, in your schedule, they are planned or they are just going for a training. Whatever is the case, if they are allocated to you, they are billed to you. So they will, that thing will be coming as an expense or as a budgeted thing from your project only. And as a project manager, I definitely need to use the allocated individuals as well as other material effectively, but many a time the budgeting is coming based on the allocation. So we can say that yes, if I have a 10 people team for X duration, I need to just multiply that 10 people per month, and that will be my budgeting coming in. Yeah. So as a good project manager, we definitely need to map the resource histograms. So what the resource histogram does it, whatever information you have here from in your activities and people allocation, and it creates an histogram of amount of work or hours the person on a daily basis is allocated, something like this.
So this could be, there is a day, so you may have a day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and this one is hours. So this might be, you may say that this is 8 hours, and this could be somewhere 16 hours. So you can see that there is a chart which shows that people are allocated at how many hours.
With our allocation so that we make sure we are using best of the organization resources, but there will be allocation-based budgeting rather than WBS or activity-based budgeting. You as a good project manager has to converge both of them, but the organization might be seeing just allocation-based budgeting. There's a possibility not everyone is 100% allocated. So if you have a partial allocation, that brings another set of complication. You can say there could be a QA activity which is allocated 20%, so that will be budgeted during that particular duration. You need to make sure that you are using that 20%, but their 20% rate will be applicable to your project. So that could be the another challenge. So I need to understand that how do we allocate different individuals, and allocation wise budgeting should be my focus area. In the agile way of working, we can assume 100% allocation is there, so we can just put the team level information. That's the second point. The third point, third, fourth, and fifth are pretty much interconnected. The third point is, as a project leader, project manager, program manager, I need to have a good understanding of cash flow, how the expenses are happening and how the inflow is happening. So many a time that will become an input for your profitability and overall cash flow management as well as contract management. So yes, this relates to the contract, but let's look into the third point first. We need to understand the cash flow part of it. So here I try to use some presentation. So we can say that, yes, there is a timeline. You can talk about this. This is a timeline for your project, your x-axis. Now, during this particular timeline, you have an expense. So you can say every month we are spending some money. Yeah, so that could be maybe you can put a bar chart or something. You have a number which is consistently happening. And if I take a cumulative number, it will be going as a linear level. If you are having 100% allocated team from the beginning, if you have a fluctuation in team, then you will see this cumulative number also fluctuating. So this is the amount of money you are spending. The bar is representing the amount of money you are spending every month. And cumulatively, I can say this is my budget which we are putting in. And that's a one simple information which will be everywhere there. The second information is how do we get an inflow of the money? Yeah? So maybe there is a possibility on the first month itself, there is a payment. There is some money comes in. So you understand what is that money and when it is coming. And maybe after some time, the another money comes in. Yeah? So you are exploring the idea and saying that, okay, I need to make sure there is a good balance between our cash flow, inflow and outflow. Now I can also make a cumulative line, which is about my inflow number. I can say this inflow was here till here, and maybe here we got another number, and now it will be something like this. You can call it funding limit reconciliation or something, but yes, that's the whole idea. Overall, if my red line in this case is a cash inflow is higher than my blue line, which is an expense in this particular case, then we are managing our expenses well. There is a possibility there could be a third payment which is getting delayed, and we may have a situation where our blue line cumulatively crosses it, and we can say, oh, we don't have a money coming in. Our money will only come after a little bit of milestone getting achieved somewhere here. Then there is a possibility for a while we have a number which will be a little bit below, and then you want to make sure it is happening. So that's a overall cash inflow and outflow understanding should be there in my mind when I'm talking about project budgeting, and especially when we are working for someone else. So that's a point number 3. Now, related to this, point number 4, this inflow and outflow too much depends upon contract. So say in this particular example, I'm showing the money is coming after a while. It could be some milestone basis. There could be somewhere where you are doing time and material contract where money could be coming every month. Yeah. So you can say every month we are getting the money, which will be a little bit more than what we have budgeted, and that is our overall margin. So depending upon your contract, if you are focusing on time and material, then it's a continuous flow of money. If you are focusing on milestone based, then it is coming on a periodic basis. I need to have an understanding about how do we manage the expenses so that they remain lesser than the inflow which we have got from that particular contract. So that could be the fourth area where the interviewer may want to learn that, okay, how you are doing, especially the milestone based payments may also becomes risky, because it is something like you might be spending, your project allocation has happened, but if because of any reason milestone is not getting achieved or the stakeholders are not clear about it, your payment get delayed. So that can put your project at a stress. Yeah. So you need to show that you have an understanding about the contract, and that is something which is managing your inflow and outflow well. Point number 4. The point number 5, which is related here, is about margins. How much money you can make in your project. Sometimes some of you will work as an account manager, program manager, will have a responsibility of managing 30% margin, 40% margin of your project. Now that is something that red line, blue line. So the red line, which was cash inflow, should be higher than, yeah, maybe some percentage higher than your blue line. Yeah. So you are showing your blue line, which is your standard rate expenses. It is not actual expense, it's a standard rate expense, which you are point number 1. And you have your cumulative line coming in, and you have that red line, which shows that if that line remains higher than your blue lines at a some percentage level, that will be your margin. Yeah. So you can say, yes, I need to demonstrate good understanding of margin. That is something I will make sure happening if I can show that my the cumulative profitability is higher than the expenses which we are making. If I have now this line could be a linear line. If I have a time and material project, we say I will keep getting the bill. If I have a non-time and material project, then definitely it will be little fluctuating. So we need to make sure that how much is our margins and how we are managing them. Now, profitability management may become an important aspect as well. You need to demonstrate the point number 5, that in a time and material space, how do you manage profitability? How do you manage the bills are getting raised on time? How do you manage timesheets are taken care? How do you manage if someone resigns, that you backfill the person quickly so that your profitability is not getting hampered? So those kind of challenges will come based on time and material. In case of your milestone based, you will be focusing on deliverable to manage the profitability. So you need to bring your context sensitive explanation for the point number 5. Now, please share your follow-up understanding questions related to this topic in the comment area. We can discuss it further and help you in exploring the budget, cost, profitability related topic for your project manager interview.